Yo, what's going on? It's your boy Moderator 28 back again once again. Talk about One Piece chapter 1074, Mark 3. This was a good chapter. This was a good setup chapter. Again, I'm just enjoying what Oda's cooking right now. I got no complaints. So let's get right into it. Obviously, starting off with the cover page. This is volume 30 of An Emotionless Excursion. Three bitter rivals in their perpetual war to be number two. Talking about Judge Vinsmoke, Queen the Plague, and Caesar Clown. Because they're in a fight. Judge is trying to stab Caesar with the spear, but Caesar morphs his body around it. And then Queen has Judge in a headlock while Caesar is punching Queen. So, uh, obviously, a funny interaction between those two. Obviously, the biggest part in the beginning is that the Mark III pacifistas have a bubble shield. So obviously, a lot of people have drawn comparisons to Saboti and Khalifa's devil fruits. I'm wondering, are those the enhanced versions of the bubbles on Saboti, or is that a modified version of Khalifa's soap ability with the bubbles? I'll definitely lean towards Saboti because they're naturally resilient. Luffy could jump on them. We know that's what they use to coat ships to go underwater to get to Fishman Island, which is 10,000 meters under the ocean, so they can withstand that much pressure. So it wouldn't surprise me if that's what it is. But obviously Oda can go any way he wants with this, and I know I say that a lot, but that's just the type of writer Oda is. He can literally keep it status quo, or he can go all the way left and make it a interesting plot development. And so from there, we actually have the pacifistas telling the CP0 agents to stand down and everything. Quite the contrast from the Seraphim. The Seraphim seem to only speak when spoken to, but these guys seem to have, I'm not gonna say a wide range of emotion, but they seem to have responses engineered into them that they can give along with the order that they've been given. Because we know and we learned that since that Sentomaru is the one who's actually controlling the Mark III pacifistas. So and then he says in this translation, talking about the Navy, he says the is that the Navy? Well, let me hold up. It says he says what worries me now is that the Navy keeps looping its communications to prevent us getting up from getting updates. I guess I'm a rebel now too. In the other translations, it made it seem like the Navy was still trying to get through to him, but according to the Viz, they're purposely looping it to keep him out of the loop on what's going on. And so he basically tells the Mark IIIs to protect the Vegapunks as they try to leave. And so now we don't know the hierarchy of that. Maybe the Mark IIIs are exclusively underneath Sentomaru, so that way, because we only got a command hierarchy for the Seraphims, not for the Mark IIIs. So they seem to be exclusively underneath Sentomaru's control. So from there, we just go to the Labo phase. On that, okay, we get to see everybody is gathered there. Shaka knew where Bonnie was, which is kind of weird that he didn't know where Vegapunk was at, because Vegapunk was with Bonnie. But he's not in the loop on it, on where the real body is at. And this is where it just kind of gets wonky, because it's like, okay, obviously there's a traitor in the group, of the Vegapunks is what I'm guessing. Because again, I've always been leaning toward Shaka. I continue to lean toward Shaka because again he was watching the screens, yet he mysteriously didn't see the Stella body disappear. It just seems kind of weird, you know. Obviously, the next page is where we get to see the drip for Zoro, Brooke, and Stussy, as they now also have Egghead modified boots and shoes. So if the we if the console no because yeah, if someone trips the boots again, then it'll put everybody on lockdown except for Luffy, because Luffy's boots are broken, so he's the only one who can run. So that is still in play if that does come up. But basically, they're all gathered in the room. We get to see how big York and Atlas are compared to everybody else. York is, I'm gonna say, a little bit shorter than what Atlas is, because Atlas is kind of hunched over. But York is very big, and you can see Zoro and Sanji looking up at her. And then they're like talking about how they have to go and find the main body, but Frankie is like, well, if the monitors are all on, then what's the point of even going to go and look for them if you can't just see them up on the monitor? Which is a good point. This is a good counterpoint. But then Shocker also reveals that the dome is on, so they can't even leave it because it's a field of laser beams. So either way, they can't get. No one can get in. They can't get out. So it's kind of a lockdown. Maybe Kizaru is the only one who could get through it because he is a Logia, but maybe the laser beams would affect him as well. But basically, we get to see Sanji fawning over Stussy, and then Zoro also wants to go in and like help out as well, but they're like, no, you would just get lost. So like you have Robin, Chopper, and Sanji telling Zoro to like stay behind. This is the first time Zoro doesn't flip out on Sanji, because usually they get in an argument, but Zoro just agrees and stays behind with like Luffy, and then we get to see, in disrespect, Kaku and Rob Lucci on the floor, knocked out as Luffy and Zoro are sitting in a chair, reminiscing about their stint on Water 7 slash Enies Lobby. From that point, in the next part of the chapter is we get to see what Bonnie is seeing in the memory bubble that Bartholomew Kuma left behind, and we're seeing him as a child. Obviously, he's huge. I would say Jinbei size as like a kid, if not a little bit bigger, because he completely dwarfs Bonnie. And we get to see a silhouette of what looks to be homeless people with like messed up teeth, or slaves, probably, because Kuma doesn't want to go back. He left somewhere, and he doesn't want to go back. But then by the middle of the beating he's getting, we get to see what looks like to be a Celestial Dragon. I say Celestial Dragon because they have the hairdo of the Celestials. And so as he's getting beat, it seems to be that the Celestial Dragons are okay with it. And then she falls out of the memory bubble. Then we get to see the real Kuma climbing the red port wall all over again. But then she says that like she has to basically steal her like self to go ahead and keep looking in Kuma's memories. She says this isn't something I can bear unless I'm truly ready for it. And so she resolves herself to look back within the actual bubble. At this point, we go to Pythagoras, and we hear like a clanking noise. He looks back, and there's an explosion. Then, by the end of the chapter, we're going to where our favorite fake news guy is at, aka Big News Morgans, and he's talking about making up a headline about Luffy capturing Vegapunk. We don't know how he knows the information. Obviously, he seems to have a mole inside, even in Egghead Island, or maybe it's the news crews who are watching from a distance what's going on. But yeah, he's the one who's talking about the like story, and then we go over to the next page. That's when we see Vivi and Wapple. Vivi is with Wapple of all people, which is crazy because considering their past exchanges, it seems Wapple is the one who saved Vivi if in Mary Joie, and she's telling she's telling him not to release the like headline, but then Wapple he's in shambles because he's worrying about possibly being heard. So I'm taking it as he saw Emu because we know Sabo saw him. More than likely, Wapple saw it, and so did Vivi, and that's why Sabo's being framed for killing Cobra. Vivi and Wapple probably saw Emu, but maybe Emu and them don't know. And he and Sabo made Wapple take Vivi with him to get out of there. But Wapple, back in Reverie, we knew Wapple was calling Big News Morgans about some intel he knew. So maybe that's what he was calling about. But obviously, Morgans isn't going to release that yet. Or maybe Morgans doesn't know. Maybe Wapple used some other intel to be picked up by Morgans. But that's pretty much the end of this chapter. As I said, it's a setup chapter, but I enjoyed it nonetheless. And I'm ready to see what Oda's going to be cooking up next in 1075. Like, comment, share, subscribe, dislike. Again, whatever type of interaction you guys do, it helps the channel actually grow. And I thank y'all for listening to this video. See y'all next week.